Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Cryptopocalypse Now video. I'm your host, Crypto Ranger, and in today's presentation, I have something very exciting to share with you. Right off the bat, you notice that MarketSpy X looks slightly different. I will explain what these bubbles are. As you zoom in, they grow, and they're also highlighted. These areas are very important for us. This is version 8 that you can expect to have sometime by next Monday once we complete all of the testings. So far, so good. You can see that I have already put in a trade for today, almost at 1% of the account on this 60,000K USDT MS account. Not bad. Do this every day, and you can join our 1% club of traders. Now, for those of you who are wondering what happened to the yellow line that was running up and down the zero line over here, that is something that a lot of the MarketSpy copycats are seen using. Some uneducated traders out there call it the VWAP. We simply called it the delta because that's what it was. It measured the distance between the white line and the blue line and showed you the thickness of the distance between the two. That is referred to as the delta. So on momentum indicators such as these, it's important to deal with lag in time and not get caught in the storm of volatility, and precision entries that are actually ideal and give you a great risk to reward ratio is what we're after here with MarketSpy overall. And we are the best performing indicator on the market currently. There's no doubt about it. Our users are having lots of fun with it, plenty of success stories, and we continue to dominate the charts. Whenever we can find a setup, it usually plays out in our favor. As a matter of fact, this whole thing that you're seeing here on this chart was assessed and analyzed weeks in advance, and every Monday open we come around and we kind of review and see what happened. And if you guys take any of the trades that are posted to the platoon, you are in the money regardless. So in today's video, we're going to talk about these enhancements that are here. We're also going to talk about sizing appropriately for your next trade, and of course we'll wrap it up with a live trade and add a little bit more to our daily gain here. So to start off the video on the right note, notice that there's a huge divergence in the making here. So you're looking for the short side after a brief run up over the weekend here, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. The yellow line, the delta momentum Z, as we properly refer to it, was replaced by what's called the sense dots. Now, these are very good at predicting the next move that the market is going to make. And basically what they are is, you can think of them as, this is based on momentum precognition logic. So when you see one appearing, it's kind of like the pre-dot, but for the momentum oscillator here. And it basically tells you when the next C dot, the crossover or the confirmation dot, is going to appear. Usually, if you were to trade these, you can see how you'd be a little off and maybe be late on your entry. However, with our techniques, that's never been an issue. It's just that now we have so much more to work with here, and it's been simplified. After all, MarketSpy is the Apple of indicators and the industry leader when it comes to retail tools available for everyday traders like me, yourselves. To trade with, this is amazing. This is amazing because not only do you have highlights, but you have these dots that contract and kind of disappear and convert themselves to be very small in line with the dotted zero line here, which makes it look very elegant, simple, and accessible by all. When you zoom in and you're precision trading, you're scalping, this gives you a very good idea of where you can potentially expect your next trade to come from. So let's take a look, for example, here. Once you had the delta, there was always this deceptive look to it where the line would tend to cross towards the zero line but never quite make it there. And you had to guess, you had to front run. There were indicators built around this delta crossing the zero line, which is very inefficient. But in our situation here, these S dots, the sense dots, they're, by the way, fully alertable. If you go and add the alert to MarketSpy, we'll have a drop-down window here, which will give you the first sense or the second sense dots as they appear, which are used for both short and long positions. You also get signals such as any long, Amy long, this needs to be corrected, any long or short alert here, or any short alert as well, depending on what you're looking for. So that is there. So do I have to really explain it? Look, they appear followed by the C dot, meaning you get an early entry signal. You can plan your trade ahead of time before the actual crossover occurs. Because sometimes, such as, I don't know, let's go over to 1 hour chart setup here. And for example, you will see how this C dot brought you all the way down here, and your entry would have been somewhere around here. With the trend, the momentum precognition dots here, you're given an entry on this rising candle. Now we have some colorization enabled, the trend visuals, we can disable those just so you can get an idea of how this pump gave you a very early entry compared to the C dot that followed here. Next up, we had one that appeared over here, and this also gave you an early entry, bypassing the need to wait for the C dot to close on a candle bar, which on this candle, you could have exited your whole position on this bar, which would have been very profitable, and so on and so forth. So now we have another one that's in the making, and we're going to attempt to short it. Generally, the first sense that triggers, this is the white sense dot, S dot. It is only to give you a heads up so you can open your risk pane and start planning your stop loss and your position size on this trade. The yellow one is more secure. It confirms when you can actually go all in. So over here, you have a sense dot that appears on this candle. You get in, you throw your stop loss in here, boom, you are in profit. This is all yours for the taking. Very nice trade setup. There's another one right here. They kind of show you that, look, we're about to start printing. It goes down, your entry here, you capture a few candles to the downside. Very nice move. 100 points on a 5-minute, 1 hour time frame. A little bit further down if you had waited a little bit. Still not bad. We had another one right here at the very bottom, which show you that, yeah, we're potentially going up. So before the C dot appeared, you had the precog sense dot appeared over here, followed by your confirmation bar. And generally what I like to do is I like to get in on those, throw a stop loss at the wick, and I know that the next dot is going to give me at least one more candle up. So pretty neat stuff. And the other one, most requested feature, and thanks to our community members and the feedback that I have received over the years, we're able to bring in very little minor details, but also helpful. Time frame selection. Go nuts. You're looking at an hourly time frame here, and you have these smooth lines that describe what's happening on the 4-hour time frame. I think you scalpers are really going to thank me for this. And this is all, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but M. Mladenkus was the last user who kind of made this happen. They said, look, you got to bring us the time frame selection feature. And I said, I'll see what we can do. And after a little bit of testing, it appears that, yes, indeed, instead of flicking between time frames, you can actually see what's happening on other time frames by setting your MarketSpy X to reflect that time frame on your current time frame. So 1 hour, let's bring this over to a 3-day time frame. Let's see what happens here. These waves are going to show you that there's a GPS dot right here. So obviously it's a long trade and you're not looking to short into it. Very nice information, very useful and super smooth. The reaction times and the way it displays. It's not jagged. It's just like you would expect from MSX. Daily GPS dot here is still holding its own, and we're continuously going up, 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 and we're looking to tackle the 34K target as our. Of course, this number can change, but in the platoon we had that expectation since we bottomed out over here. This is a yearly support you bounced off of. Good luck breaking through it. I think there's going to be a little run up first before any further downside, but as always, use stop losses, and the market is the market is the market. It always knows what is right. Doesn't matter what we want to see. It'll give us exactly what we deserve. So precognition, momentum sense dots. Amazing. You will love it. And I'm very happy to be able to present this to you firsthand. Lots of copycats out there who have attempted to kind of figure out the logic and the algorithm and the model that we use in Armageddon, for example, failed miserably. And a lot of lookalikes out there that have that cursed wave that runs here that looks yellow, and that just it's a bad look overall. I think this is a much better application of using the delta, and gives you a really nice alertable delta setup that you can play with. But there's more behind the scenes than what's shown here. So hopefully we inspire more detractors to do their best to try to compete. They know they can't, but regardless, you guys are welcome. Another thing is you're going to see a few labels over here, right? And if you double click on this and look at the description here, it is labeled as peaks and valleys, okay? Shown, indicated by this nice little up and down arrow. So there are 4 of them in total. We don't really have any specific names to them, but these are the parameters that are in use. There's minimum second peak value, maximum between peak value, and minimum second peak distance. These are all candle bars that are measured that tell you when a base and a node are going to occur and whether it's a valid setup or not. So whether it be a divergence or just a base setup with a GPS, we call it a deep corrective wave followed by a smaller corrective wave as the node that connects to the base. This is going to be labeled like this, and that's how you know you have money in the trade. So lots of signals here, boom, huge upside potential, and the same goes for the reversals at the top if one is found. It wasn't found here because we have a flat top. We didn't really post a double peak here, so it's not printed. But yeah, it's simplified, very elegant, and most importantly, effective. So welcome to the future, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to clean up the chart by getting rid of these guys over here, just so we can see the lanes better. Now we have some indications over here, and any alert is showing us another simple label here, which shows you minus 6.37. This is going to be here. There's a special way to set these alerts depending on where you want them to trigger, but generally anything that goes over the 100 mark, especially for altcoins, you're going to be printing money, knowing this at a glance if the altcoin is truly oversold or overbought, if there's real power behind the move, or it's just something like a people coin where it just goes up and down, for example, right? So you have one that's showing you a little bit of weakness here. This means that the next potential setup is going to print us a C dot. So we're going to wait for this. We're going to see how this plays out. We're going to initiate a short, and we're going to put a stop loss at these numbers here. So this is also a great opportunity to show you how to size properly for these type of trades. And I think once we reach R1, hopefully we can initiate our a short here, placing a stop at R2. So let's see how this goes. We're very close to entering our position. We just have to wait for it to gives a bit more upside. Remember, the VVS here is still a volume and volatility reading, which shows its relative strength. Relatively strong indication of price action attempting to move higher. So this may be a bit too early for a stop loss, but we're also getting there slowly but surely. This is at minus 42, still remains oversold, and there's huge upside potential here. So be careful. This is just a demo. I do not advise you short the bottom, which sits at yearly support for now. Okay, let's bring this over to a 4-hour time frame, like so. We can quickly look at the label and say it's 57. This can go up to 100. Maximum swing potential short setup, you're looking at about 80 to 85. You know, if it gets there, it's okay to skip a trade if it doesn't. But when this label goes over to 85, you will see the true power of these small additions to the indicator here. So okay, let's get started. We're going to only risk what we can afford to lose. You see the wrecking ball here. The orb is floating above candlesticks. Maximum pullback potential is to about TC. Okay, this is also where the trailing stop is. So to get an optimal entry here, we need to look at our R1. We know that that can also get hit, but R1 37.73 is a pretty good entry, and you can throw your stop loss at the previous the blue area right here. So I'm going to take some time to see how this goes. Remember, there's a divergence in the making, and we're paying attention to the label over here and looking at the sense dot, which is telling me we're about to print. 49 minutes to go, hourly time frame. We have time. Okay, this is going to take another 49 minutes potentially. So I'm going to quiet down the microphone here, listen to some music. Maybe I will speed up the video, but I want you to see this in real time to get a sense of how a trade like this is executed, performed, measured, managed, and how profit taking occurs. Remember, you're working with percentages relative to your account size, so do not think in dollars. Think in terms of percent value of your account. Making 1% a day is really, really good. And for example, with a stop loss that is placed at 35.67, you're able to trade with 7 Bitcoins. Now, this is way above 1x. It's 3.88 on a floating leverage here, which is cross leverage. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be getting liquidated, because we know our exit point, and that exit point is going to result in a $700 loss with this amount. So Bybit Pro does everything for you. Watch and learn. I hope you enjoy. Try this at home. I'll see you in a bit. Let's take a ride together. Bitcoin, what are you going to do? You think you can outsmart us? For those of you who are in the platoon, congratulations. We had this analysis running for a while now and pretty much tackling every up and down here in our last video. If you haven't watched the last video, we talked about how we were going to dump, pump, go sideways, do a flag, do a BART, come back down, and potentially have a head and shoulder inverse head and shoulder setup here. I can show you the chart. As per our analysis, and the chart showed us that we're going to do this. So this was our assessment here: one arrow up, one arrow down, and more upside to tackle this. And I think this is as far as we go, but always count on overperformance. And I think once we jump a little slightly higher, we're good to go for a short. This is diverging already, so it should be a great opportunity to look into potentially in the next few moments. So let's do this. I may throw a stop loss at the peaks depending on where we start closing in on our timer here, but we are hitting a ceiling. Unless we break above the green, we're not really looking for more continuation here on this trade. um, but there's a good chance that this can go all the way down here to the beginning of the impulse of this candle. So let's trade this together, see how it goes. So did you see that alert? That alert pops up on 5. The wave was at around 67, I believe, or maybe this is the one right here, 67. That's a pretty good number to attempt to short. Make sure you have your stop loss. We're not risking too much. 1% of our account. See, loss if stopped out, 665. The only thing here is that it may be a little harder to get picked up on a limit order. You can use your markets as well, but with a number of contracts at this size, I prefer limits just because I don't want to pay the fees. Um, uh, so the way they play you is that you have a stop loss, you agree with the number that you're willing to lose, fine. But as you increase the number of contracts, let's say this gets up to 10 Bitcoins, for example, right? You're still going to only lose this much, but then the fees on the 10 Bitcoin positions, that's really going to eat up all your potential profits, and you're going to have to wait to meet the break-even point in order to be able to feel that you made any gain at all. So markets, unless you're shorting extreme numbers like 100 on the label here, 80, I don't recommend that you do it for scalps. Try to get in on limit orders, better than nothing, and just roll with it. All right, so just a tad bit more. Okay, we're going to initiate a short right now. We're seeing a little bit of action here, which will allow us to hopefully get picked up. There we go. We got picked up. Now we wait, and about, I would say, $100 later, we can take profit. Now this is down to the daily open here, potentially. We have a stop loss, and you know, if we close in the negative and in the minus and the stop loss gets hit, I would still consider this a good trade because we had our plan, we had our position size, we agreed to the number that we were going to trade and lose on. So this number here is great. It's just going to be over $200 loss on the account, but what was 0.2%? Okay, and we already made some gains here earlier using the precogs from the 15-minute time frame. So that's okay. That is fine. That is just part of the trading. This is proper trading, and I think this should be more impressive than someone just randomly gambling, going with the flow, trying to make millions. Because this is what you're doing every day, and no shame in the game. You know, you will be able to take. This is 1% of your account, like 10 losses in a row. in a day. And I just don't think that you're going to get that many bad setups with our system. Doesn't matter how crazy price action is looking. There's still, there's more gains to be had with MarketSpy than losses overall, backtesting and all. So please enjoy this. And as soon as we're up over 1%, we will be taking profit on our trade. We'll also be using like incremental take profit points. So we'll take a little bit of percentage here, a little percentage there. Every time price drops down by, say, 20, 30 points, we'll take 20% off, and so on and so forth. All right, so please enjoy the rest of the video, and I'll see you later on tonight in the platoon. And if you're not at the desk, you can always throw a ladder. And let's go for 1 hour time frame, because we're on an hourly time frame. So this drops, will probably drop by this ATR percentage. So we're just going to set this to 1 hour ATR. Get rid of this. We're going to go to buy, like so. 1 hour ATR, and we'll start taking profit at 1 minute ATR. Like this. Click buy, and that's it. This should take care of the rest. Notice how the sense dot is now turning yellow. We still want to wait for a close, but because we're short on time and I pretty much see this price going down to about TC, I think it's good to go. For you guys, I would say wait for your closes. If you go back a little bit, if you wait for a close, nothing wrong with that, because you can still get a confirmation. However, this starts to get picked up right now and moves towards our stop loss target. This will disappear because the candle is not closed yet. So I have my alerts set up to once per bar, and this is just so I can be early on the action. But recommended setting is always use bar close for optimal results. I can hear some questions in the background. I can hear some questions running through your mind, and you're thinking, Well, what if you lose on a stop loss and this doesn't actually go out and it resumes the uptrend? Well, from where, as far as I'm concerned, and the way I trade, I think you're going to get a better entry closer to an overbought level that's slightly higher. Run these peaks and you're good to go. And that'll be slightly above R1 into the blue zone over here. So back to back, second chance, much better entry, and the same principle applies. You have stop losses that can now be placed on 31.2 and then 31.6, okay? And one of them are going to get hit and you're going to make up for the losses. So let's do this honestly without any glamorization and see how it goes, because this is what you would typically do. All you have to do is make sure that you agree to the number that's displayed here. Your loss should not exceed either your daily gain, or it should be something manageable like under or close to 1% of your account. And this is the game. This is the game here. There's no other way of doing this. So if it hits, it hits. But at that point, you know, there's a better chance if you're hitting that potential short setup a little higher at a better price. So you might be early, but there's nothing to fear if you're comfortable with losing 1% of your account on the trade. How many of these losers can you have per day? I'm sure you'll make up for it. So let's just roll with it. Also important to note is the fact that when you get so we may actually flip to a long position depending. The C dot appears on one more candle down. I think this will be a great entry point to the upside. And that's because there's going to be, it'll be supported by a significant lag, much like what it occurred over here, where you had the peaks over here, 2-3 candles, suppressed going down, and the C dot appears right over here. It's really easy to just kind of find some sort of support here, whether you're using one of the EMA's trailing steps or the TC top center level here, get in on a trade. Same thing here. If it drops a little further and the indicator is lagging, and the C dot appears on the third candle here, this will be our take profit point as well as a long entry trade. So I'll show you how that's done. Let's continue to observe. Okay, so that is close to 1% of our account. We can now, once you reach that point, okay, if this continues to go down, you start reducing your exposure, because remember, our stop is very tight, and that allowed us to bring in 3x leverage into play, determined by our stop loss. And so it's always a good idea to take profit or reduce your exposure once you're in the green. Okay, just a little bit, because the rest of it, this could literally fall down to here and then immediately bounce up. It's never fun watching your profits disappear. So we take what we can. 47 points. I think that's a good point to start reducing a little bit. There it is. We're down to 2 Bitcoin. We're going to take another 20% here. Throw that in there. This is where I would use the chaser also to try to basically take profit as price is falling. So bring it down here. Reduce only position. At 0.5 distance. There we go. And we can do it again. Chaser is going to keep track where the price is, another 20%. Now at this point, once you know this is not enough, I know volatility demands more distance here. This is a very small amount. Okay, so we were aiming for about 200 points. I'm not sure if we can get it, but what we can do here is, once we're down to about 1 Bitcoin, there we go. We can now go ahead and check our stop. So if we lose at our mark, it's 165, which means we're going to give up the gains that we just made. So we want to reduce our position just slightly more, just a bit more, using the chaser at whichever price point it's willing to give us that exit. We're down to 0.783. And that's great. We have the C dot. So the S dot momentum precognition gave us a nice indication that we'll have a push a little lower. We got it. We can now go ahead and put a stop loss at entry. It's too early for a break-even point because this can jump by 50 points and we're screwed and we're out of our trade. So we don't want to do that just yet. 50 points down and we're down to 58 Bitcoin. We can go to our entry point and we'll only lose 10 USDT, $10. We can go keep the rest as is. This is just starting to play out, and hopefully it continues to push lower because we stand to gain from that. And that's only 55 points from our entry, but I think it was good for the purpose of getting to our 1% mark. I think this is really good. So what will happen now is that we can repeat the process, and now if we throw a stop loss, you play with a smaller size, we can say that, okay, you can take my 1% that I earned for the day, and the rest of it I'm just going to kind of like eyeball the chart and see if there's more momentum to the down. Looks like this is going to take us out. We're about to lose $10. But we don't have to. I'll take another 20% because I'm greedy like that. Using the chaser here. That should be plenty. There it is. And now our exposure is very minimal. If this somehow continues to waterfall down, then this could bring us up to another $100 in profit, which will add to our daily percentage gain. So 1% daily point achieved, and this is all that we need to be happy. Now we could just go back to our usual business and do what we do, and then come back to this tomorrow or maybe later on in the day and see where the price is, because this will either chop here or go slightly higher, at which point there's a short trade you can initiate at the top, or if it dips low enough to the red support box here, to the initial impulse point, could be another entry. I don't think I'm not betting on that happening anytime soon, but I'm also not betting on price skyrocketing from this point. So I think maybe a bit of a sideways chop here is would be good. So let's go back to 15. We will see how, for example, in our first trade, just earlier today, this morning, had my coffee, and there was an S dot momentum precognition logic printed 1 here at the 0 line, no delta. This is far more efficient. And then we had the C dot, which allowed me to put a stop loss here. Use about 0.2% of my account because I didn't know if it was going to go lower than TC or whatnot. But then it bounced off and started to slowly creep up, and profit taking occurred somewhere around here at the green box. This serves as a magnet, and that usually is a good place to take profit. And now we had another trade somewhere around here, and we captured this one little candle. We took profit along the way, and we threw a stop loss at entry. Yeah, we're not going to do anything now. We want this to come below the TC point for any buying opportunity, but if it doesn't happen, we're waiting for this to chop slightly higher. And I think at around 31, 35 mark later on in the day, if the market gives us that opportunity, we will be able to position ourselves in a short trade once again. Hopefully this continues to go up, but be mindful of what's going on here, and it's not really a good look. And so, yeah, you have a short setup, you traded it well, and expect to get access to this sometime next week. This should help you a bunch. I know you will love it. Check out these bad boys. Ideally, this is the perfect setup here, where you have sense 1, sense 2, and sense 2, consecutive order of these before you see the C dot. So your entries are anywhere here with a stop loss at the peak, and you're good to go. So you're capturing all this. That's your intraday play. 3 hours, 4-hour trade. Very nice. You have obviously support down here. You're looking to take profit and not hoping that it would spill over. However, if you put a stop loss at your break even or entry point, who knows, right? Sometimes the market does that and it rips right through all of them on some anomaly, and you get that nice trade in. Even though you can't really size a bunch here, remember, if you're putting in 1% or 2% here and you're comfortable with that and you understand what that means for your recovery if you have 10 losing trades in a row, right? If we aim to make 1% a day, every other day, I don't say there's a trade every day, but if you're aiming to make that, I think you can recover pretty fast with this system. I have no problems taking a loss, but I love taking profit and recovering from my losses just as much. So it's all part of the experience, and that's what the market is. As for the speculation side of things, of where the price may go, I'll leave it up to the rest of the gurus on YouTube to discuss. I'll see you in the next stream. Thank you so much. Thank you for sticking by and watching this. Make sure to, thanks guys. I'll see you next time. 1% club. This is what it means to be a part of the 1% club. Don't worry, we're ending the video. I know it's pushing an hour already, but 30 minutes to plan and initiate this trade, and 3 hours to take profit, and 1 hour to play the S dot, predict the crossover and trade this spill over here. And who knows, it may continue falling down, or I don't care. It's 1%. Should be happy with it. Let's go. Cheers.